Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be here in Honduras with Kayla Garcia. She's the Director of Governance and Public Management for the Association for a More Just Society. We're talking about the challenges that Honduras faces that are contributing to a flow of undocumented immigrants across the U.S. border, and what can be done here in Honduras to make life better for people so that they are less inclined to leave and take the dangerous, really life-threatening trip to the north. So you don't want to miss this episode. Stick around.
Welcome to the Your Mark on the World show with your champion of social good, Devin D. Thorpe.
Kayla, welcome to the show.
Thank you for inviting us.
Oh my gosh, we're so happy to have you here. Kayla, how long have you been doing this work?
Well, I've been with AHS for 10 years now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited for being part of this work to make a more just society. We actually believe in what we do, and we also think that all the work that we're doing, even though it's not easy because it's difficult to work or to make the government to do what they should be doing, but it's really important for us to keep hope in what we do and celebrate the small changes that they're creating here.
Well, you call them small changes, but they're extremely important. You're working on a variety of issues, but I think that it's simple to say that you're trying to root out corruption and reduce violence, right?
That's right. Yeah. Those are the two main topics or sectors that we work on as an organization. The statistics show that most of our population, and according to international studies, they consider security and corruption like the major topics or problems that we face as Hondurans. And that's why we have tried to focus our efforts on those sectors. We're trying to investigate cases. We also try to measure performance of in public institutions to see how they're complying with the law and best practices. And in my case, this is what my direction does. We try to assess procurement processes, human resources processes, and also how they manage statistics. And these areas, key management areas, are very important because they're related to the quality of services that these institutions provide. And since over 60% of our population lives in poverty, which according to the World Bank, those people live with $2 a day, that means that they basically depend on the government to have their basic needs fulfilled. So that's why for us it's very important to work with the government, to push them to do their work, to measure what we're doing, to see their improving in order for them to provide better services and coverage to this population. And that's what we're trying to do. We have been doing that since 2014, where we started this, what we call a monitoring system. This is an independent monitoring system that we developed with indicators and to review if they were doing what they should be doing to hire the right people for their institutions, to make sure they have the best doctors or best teachers, and also for the management to be more efficient as an institution. We were measuring if they're transparent and how if they sanctioned their employees for misconduct or corruption and that kind of things. And that we do the same for procurement as well, because that's almost 10% of the institution's budget goes into procurement processes. So, and the other between 60 and 70% goes into human resources management. So for those, that was basically reviewing how they were spending their money. So we were doing the same with those, and we found a very shocking reality in 2015 when we finished the baselines for these institutions. We've been doing this for education, health, infrastructure, security, and 3 other sectors. And we found that they were only complying with, in average, 25 to 30% with law and best practices. And that was really shocking. For instance, you see that they would, according to law, they should have, in order to recruit their people, their employees, they should have a merit-based process, but they wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
They would hire the people that were working for their campaign or
family or friends.
Exactly. Oh yeah, we found a lot of examples about that, and it was very shocking. And also we found an institution like the security, the Ministry of Security, they weren't able to tell you how many policemen they had at that time. We actually had this joke where
Sorry.
Well, no, honestly,
that's pretty bad. I think I even tell you how many.
I never forget when on the news, everybody saw this, they interviewed the minister of the Ministry of Security, and they asked him how many policemen they had, and he was like, I reckon that we have this amount of policemen. And what we found when we got to this institution is like they just have like a basic Microsoft Excel document with the payroll. So they actually didn't know if it was complete. It had no password. It was on a simple computer where anyone could go in, just make changes or change probably their salary or that kind of things. And it was really bad. That's why we found like 25 to 30% of compliance with the best practices. But now
But you've made some progress, haven't you?
Yeah,
Because
that's what I want.
You keep repeating this survey, this whole process.
Yeah,
You
every
repeat
year.
How every year?
Yeah, we've been doing it every year now.
So now it's your almost third or fourth time.
Yeah, we are completing the 3rd report and actually starting to request information for the 4th round. And now that we've done 3 evaluations, at least we can say that these institutions have improved in average 30% their compliance with law and best practices. Of course, it's different with each institution, but in the case of the Ministry of Security, the one that I was telling you about, they obtained a management information system. I'm not sure you're familiar with SAP.
Yeah.
So they got that one, and they're using it for several areas of the police. And for instance, human resources management is one of the most important now.
Sure.
Yeah, and you see a completely different institution on that regard. Of course, the challenges are
Still
big.
a
I don't want to say that. I want to clarify that it's not that everything is working.
SAP didn't solve everything in Honduras.
Exactly, but at least now they can tell you we have 16 policemen. They can tell you where they are located at this time of the year and when they're terminated, for instance, which is an ongoing process right now because you've heard about the purge in the police. Now they can just take them out of the system, which in the past, in our baseline, we found that they have been paying policemen that had left the organization 8 months ago and they were still on the payroll of that kind of things. So it's different for the procurement unit that didn't have one procurement unit, and now they hired qualified people. They received a very professional and important training. They're certified now, and now we see that they have increased the compliance in 40% in just procurement processes. So we see changes, and that's, as I said, we try to celebrate and to hold on and to say it's possible. Of course, that we know that big challenges are ahead, and that 40% left.
So you've moved the percentage of compliance with these measures from about 30% to about
6. It's actually 33 to 63%.
33 to 63%. Now, I was visiting with Kurt this morning. Kurt is the CEO, the president of ASJ, and he was saying that the health ministry actually went down during that period. What happened there?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, even though that's a very important ministry here too, we see that there haven't been many changes there. Well, it's different talking about the ministries. They have had like 4 different ministers during this year.
Oh, wow.
And in our history, it's like every minister is like will start a new different thing without considering what the others were doing. And also in public institutions, like everything stops, all processes stops when a new head comes around. It's like they have to wait for the authorization to continue what they were doing. That we think that's one of the things that have affected, but also this is a very politicized institution. You can see a lot of factic powers or people making decisions in this sector. You see private companies, for instance, who have been historically the providers of medications or basic medical materials for their work. It's like now that we have been pushing for them to have open procurement processes and not just hiring directly. Oh, you see that they wouldn't want to let that go. And about the doctors, medical doctors, we had this concurso recruiting process. It was merit-based according to what the law establishes, but it hasn't been done like this in the last decades because people even knew how much a position costed. It's like they have to pay for the position in each hospital or place. But the last 2 years, we worked on this recruiting process. And it was well done. We celebrated that it was well done. They actually tried to fulfill the law. We created together a platform for all the applicants to upload their documents for the process, and we could actually review each. Merits and what there were qualifications for the job in order to have the best 3 for each position, and that was done for 416 positions.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was well done. But in the end, since that didn't allow their activists or the people to get in here, they took 58 positions and gave them to their people. They couldn't do it with the rest, but they had to do it. So you still see, and that's people that is somehow linked to the Congress and also to the Minister of Health. So you see that there is a lot of people behind this institution trying to make decisions. I'm not sure if I explained.
Yeah, that's helpful. Now, as you think about stepping back and kind of going in a different direction, ASJ has helped to reduce the homicide rate in Honduras. Honduras famously has one of the highest homicide rates in the world as a country, and for a time the highest. It's been reduced. What did you do to make that happen?
Well, we have been doing research on this sector from probably 10 years ago, and we had been pointed out some weaknesses of the institutions, but they wouldn't let us do anything, and also they weren't interested until this huge scandal came out through the New York Times and whatever. So it's like that the president came to us and said, okay, you've been telling that we should be doing this, now this is the opportunity for you to be part of this. And of course, probably he didn't expect us to would say yes because we took a high risk, as you know. Yeah, these the people are representatives in this purging commission, and which is not just purging; it's transforming, a purging and transforming commission that has been working to transform the institution. They have received threats, and the families have had to go abroad to protect them sometimes, and one of the members of the commission actually had to leave the country and seek asylum in another country because he received an attempt. Yeah, and one of his bodyguards was assassinated at that moment.
Wow.
So he actually decided to leave the commission and seek asylum everywhere else. And also, so because of that, we have been working on have better procedures. They have been reviewing all the performance of the policemen going down. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they started with the high officers, mm-hmm. and now they have. I'm sorry. Because of that, over 5,000 people have been purged from the police. These people were somehow investigated because they had received complaints or there were evidence mm-hmm. about them probably being involved in criminal activities or any other. Some others also were fired because of restructuring or re-engineering processes as well, because they're trying to make a more efficient institution. And one of the decision to purchase this SAP is one of the decisions that they have made. And also one very important thing that I want to point out is like they created this internal affairs office because in the past you would ask in our baseline you would ask how many people have been sanctioned or because of misconduct. They wouldn't have any records for that. Of course, they wouldn't have any investigations. But now they have created this internal affairs office, which is working on that. And we are also trying to make this sustainable because it's not just one thing. The one thing that you have to do just once, but it has to be an ongoing process. And also, they have made reforms, very important reforms. The police law, the main police law, and also the police career law were worked during the past 2 years almost, and it was a fight at mm-hmm. all levels, even at the Congress. I remember us talking about how we had to fight to keep that good product that we had at the beginning and to make sure that it was approved like that. And in the process, you can imagine how many struggles we had to get that, and it was done in the end. I can't tell you that it's 100% the primary product, but it's still something that is helping to improve the legal framework in the police.
Yeah. What are you most proud of having accomplished in your 10 years at this work?
I would say that probably this work with the public institutions. Yes, this gives me hope because usually, and you can verify that in reports, in international reports, we don't trust public institutions. Nobody does here in our country. And it's like, that's one of the reasons why we get a lot of attacks, if I could say it, because we recognize the good things that government does. We want to say what's bad, but also we want to say, hey, you're doing great, you're making progress, you're improving, you can do it. And also, we have identified that there are people there that can do the job and want to do a good job. So since when we do that, they're doing something good, some part of the population says, no, they're lying, that's not right, mm-hmm. because public institutions are good. So to be able to see that that's happening for me is like, wow, there's hope. We can do it. It won't take 5 more years, probably 20 more years or 30 more years, but we're committed to this.
Yeah. What's the most important lesson you've learned?
Probably, that we have to be patient with this process, this kind of processes. Not everything happens the way you planned. To be, for instance, for the first report, for the first evaluation, we had to wait for 11 months, and it's like they don't move the public institutions, and in general the system doesn't work at the pace that we would like as citizens in general. But at least we have to keep our vision in mind, and to be brave and also show integrity. That makes a difference, really, in what you do.
Now, why was this important to you personally? Why did you get involved with this work?
That's a good question. I'm a chemical engineer, so okay, you can imagine, and I'm here, exactly. I would say that I like to work hard, and I like to make things right. And for me, it was like, okay, if I'm doing this big effort and it's costing me a lot of my health because I use a lot of my time for this, I want to do it for a good cause. And money, I was working with a big, large Canadian engineering and construction company. And they were like, okay, this is the path to money. You can make money here. But that wouldn't give me the satisfaction I get to do something for my country, for our people, and it doesn't compare really. I want to do it for a good cause, and it makes a difference, really.
Boy, you are making a difference. Mm-hmm. Kayla, what is your superpower?
I would probably say I'm a high worker, and I try to be humble and treat others that way I would like to be treated in my work here within the organizations and the other institutions, because I could go and talk to them and just point out bad things in a bad way. Mm-hmm. But no, I have to do it in a very respectful and polite way, and try to convince them that this is the right path to go. And probably I would say that's one of the things that I like to do.
That really is a superpower that you have developed, because it is almost impossible to imagine the government accepting the kind of help you offer, right?
Yeah.
You have basically said, what we would like to do is help you figure out all the things you do wrong, and the government said, oh, that'd be good to know.
And
right?
It's not that easy. It takes some time.
That is remarkable.
Yeah.
So that is quite a superpower you've developed, treating other people with respect. So thank you. Well, Kayla, really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. Before you go, and I know you're busy today, but would you take just a minute and tell people how they can learn more about ASJ and the work you're doing here, and how they could connect with you personally?
Well, we have this web page, and also some social networks, publications, where you can read a lot of our reports or materials that summarize some of the challenges we have, and also the big changes or the progress that we're doing to create a more just society. We actually dream of our people having their basic needs satisfied here, that they want to stay in the country, but for that we all need to work together. This is not something that just ASJ can do. We need all sectors to be involved. That means international community, countries, churches, religious organizations, civil society, private enterprises, and in general, all of us should be pursuing this cause, because that's what we want to do, a better country.
Excellent. Well, again, Kayla, thank you very much for being with us today, and we wish you every success in bringing that vision to reality.
Thank you.
So thank you again for being with us.
Thank you for your interest, Mr. Thorpe.
All righty, let's do some good.
Devin Thorpe's mission is to end extreme poverty, improve global health, and mitigate climate change before 2045 by finding and sharing the stories of those who are doing the most good.
Thanks for tuning in to the Your Mark on the World show, the Social Impact Podcast. Please subscribe via YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or Spotify.